This is Tyrese Halliburton, and you're listening to Setting the Pace.
Hey, what's up, Pacer Nation? Welcome back to another episode here of your go-to Pacers podcast, Setting the Pace. I'm your host, Alex Golden, and on today's show, the great Derek Kramer from iPacers is going to be joining me to talk about the biggest questions we have for this upcoming season with the Indiana Pacers. Now, look, we were going to do two segments and one big podcast, but we ended up talking way too long, so we're going to break it into two. So for today, you're going to hear our biggest questions heading into next season, and then tomorrow, Derek will be joining me once again as we talk about the biggest what-ifs in Pacers history and do a draft and draft our starting five. So it's pretty interesting to me because there's a lot of what-ifs and we go through quite a few of them. So I think you guys are going to enjoy that podcast as well. But it's August. It's the dog days of the NBA season. So bear with us, Pacer Nation. We're still giving you guys content throughout the entirety of the year. If you're not looking forward to moving on from the Pacers yet and don't want to watch football and talk about that, but we've got stuff for you. So anyway, Pacer Nation, appreciate y'all. Hope you guys enjoy part one of today's podcast here with Derek Kramer. Well, hello there, Pacer Nation, and welcome back to another episode here of your go-to Pacers podcast, Setting the Pace. I'm your host, Alex Golden, and once again, unable to join us is Michael J. Facci. If we're talking about a slacker, that guy is number one on the top of the list. But joining me to talk about our biggest questions for the Indiana Pacers coming into this season and also the biggest what-ifs in Pacers history draft, it is not only Derek Kramer from iPacers.com. It is Derek Kramer, a.k.a. the newly WWE reporter, reporting on SummerSlam with Tyrese Halliburton. It's my man, Derek. Derek, what's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I know nothing about wrestling, so every time Tyrese does something involved in the WWE world, I try to do my best without making myself look like a complete idiot.
Yeah, so just in case anybody didn't see what happened, they're having SummerSlam, Night 2, MetLife Stadium, I believe, in the Brooklyn, New York area. Tyrese is sitting ringside. John Cena comes over and takes what appears to be one of Tyrese Halliburton's crutches to use it on Cody Rhodes. But as Derek pointed out, the crutch that John Cena took,
most likely planted by the WWE. I know it's shocking that they would plan things out, but he was not using crutches earlier that evening. Like, he was using something else to kind of move and stand and walk on his own. He doesn't have the wheelie thing anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know what exactly they're called, but the ones where you're just you're holding the little bar and they're just, yeah, I've seen them before. I don't know what the word is for them. Kind of like canes, but not canes.
Yeah, it was good to see him, though, without the wheelie thing, right?
Yeah, it's progress.
Progress within the Achilles injury, and maybe he'll be back sooner. No, I'm just kidding. We obviously heard Kevin Pritchard, he will be out for the year, and they've already applied for a DPE, so they can already label or rule Tyrese out for the entirety of the season. But, man, it still sucks that Tyrese will not be able to play this year. But we're going to talk about that in a little bit with our biggest what-ifs, I'm sure. But we're going to start things off with questions we have going into this season. How many did I tell you to come up with?
None. You didn't.
I didn't give you a number. Okay. So I don't know how many you came. How many did you come up with?
I feel like they all come down to one. They all relate to one big question for me.
Okay. Well,
there's a bunch of branches you can go.
Okay. Well, let's. Where do you want to start? Because I've got them I don't write anything down, but I kind of have questions at the back of my head that I've obviously talked about on this podcast a lot. So I can go whichever direction you want to go.
So, my main overarching thing for this year is just who's going to take advantage of the opportunity that's in front of them. There's so many minutes on the table from Tyrese and then Miles also. There's a lot of minutes that are available for people to jump into that weren't there previously, and who's going to take advantage of that? Who's going to rise to the occasion? Just what happens with all that space that's open?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think we've talked about what players we want to see step up or who could step up in that regard, but it's a great question to say who's going to do it. Who's going to benefit the most from this opportunity here? And I think it's a great question because I think we all would probably we could probably rank if we wanted to, the players we want to see take the biggest steps at this point. Mm-hmm. But it's up to the player and it's up to the coaching staff to, empower that player to be able to take those steps. Because, I mean, if the player's not following in line with what they're wanting to do and trying to do things to stand out alone, I think that will get them pushed down in the pecking order of how much opportunity they're going to get.
Yeah, and I think there's just so many candidates that could be the guy that takes the most advantage. Like Andrew Nimhard's the obvious, like he's going to have the ball a lot more, but then there's the whole question about who's starting at the 2. Who else is going to get minutes that wouldn't otherwise? Like there's so many questions for Ben, for both Bens really, Jarris, Johnny, and then the entire center rotation is just wide open. Like there's questions up and down the roster of who's going to take advantage of this just wide open, who's going to just fill up that usage that is available now. And it could be even more bigger role for Pascal. It could be a bigger role for Aaron. Like it's not even just the guys that could fill in the spots. It's the guys that are still there too.
I agree with that. And I want to use this opportunity now to kind of piggyback and go off what you said. You have kind of branches of this question. So what is your next question that you have for this upcoming season?
So that's still like the biggest one. It's just where do you want to go from there?
Is there a certain player you want to go with, or is it more player driven, or what?
Who do you? Well, we can just say like who do you think is going to take most advantage of the?
I mean, obviously Nimhard makes a lot of sense just because it's like default. But like if we're looking at players that weren't in the starting lineup, it's pretty obviously it's got to be Ben Mathan, right?
He should. It should be Ben.
I'm a little bit like hesitant on that just because they're so afraid to commit to him. Like why
both lottery guys though?
Why do they keep saying like shooting guards up for grabs? We're not committing to anybody. It's a competition at camp. Like I understand why, and I've talked about this with like Tyler Smith and different things like that. But it just to me, it's like this is a guy that could literally lead the team in scoring next year. That to me is a massive jump.
That would be huge. And then there's the question of like, if he leads the team in scoring next year, is that changing the way the Pacers are playing, or is he figuring out how to fit into their style? Because if he's just leading the team in scoring and the style is shifting more to Ben Mathan, what does that mean when Ty comes back? Because they're going to shift back to Ty. Like,
yeah. Now how quick they shift back?
And then you're going to have to pay Ben. And then there's the question of, well, does he fit still? Like, yeah, he just had an amazing year last year, but if they're shifting their style towards him to do it, then it's kind of we're still wondering if this is going to work.
And that was going to be one of my questions is what style do the Pacers play?
That's a great question.
This upcoming season, because I could almost see Carlisle saying, no, we're going to continue to play Halliburton basketball without Halliburton. And we're going to see how these guys fit into that role without it. But I think that they're going to have to change it somewhat if they want to have any success, because you can't play Halliburton basketball without Halliburton, obviously. It's pretty basic basketball analysis right there for you. But like Nimhard can run the point, but who's going to be your secondary playmaker out there on the floor next to him? I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be the guy that plays the two spot, but is there anybody else out there that could do it? I mean, we've seen Pascal do it at times, be an initiator of offense, but he's not that secondary playmaker to me, like we see Nimhard on a consistent basis next to Tyrese. So that is where I'm a little bit like, what exactly are they going to be doing? But to me, it would make more sense to try to play the Halliburton style and see what players can fit into that without Halliburton. So hopefully when he comes back, it's more of a seamless transition, because if they go and start playing Mathan basketball, it might look great for Mathan, but like, what does that get you other than potentially raising his trade value?
Yeah, like that's part of why I think that they are saying that the second spot is open. They're not. I don't think they ever would just hand it to him regardless, but just I think they still want him. I think to try to mesh more into the Pacers mold. I think they probably like that he does do things differently than the rest of the team. Like they need that kind of curveball. I think Zach Lowe's used that exact term for Mathan with how he plays with the Pacers. But yeah, I still have a lot of questions about Ben, just seeing how, and I think this year is like a huge, massive thing for him, just to see how he plays and how he responds to everything. I would love my ideal would be Jarris gets into the starting lineup and becomes he would really be the 3, and then Aaron's the 2.
Yeah.
That would be my ideal. Like he earns that and takes it.
Yeah.
would be what I would want to see the most.
Well, I think if you're looking stylistically, playing with Ty like that probably makes the most sense because I think Jarris fits this system better. And I said that last year on this podcast. And I've actually said in the offseason, like, if Mathan isn't the guy that gets the starting 2 position, who is the most likely to earn a starting spot on the wing? Is it Ben Shepherd?
Most likely, I feel like it's Ben Shepherd, but I would
I know,
prefer not.
but it's such a low. It might be a higher floor potentially, but it's such a lower ceiling. Like
I feel like it's just a more consistent floor.
Yeah, and that's fair too. Maybe the floor is about the same. You're probably right. I'm looking around the roster. Like, I think I would almost rather have Quentin Jackson than Ben Shepherd in the starting 5. Just because he's like a little bit different and like at least he looks to score at times. Because Shepherd so often he'll cut without even looking at the rim, and I'm like, you got to cut with purpose.
Back right away.
Yeah. It's like, or yeah, like you said, catch it and like not look at the rim to score. Like, and Mathan, like, like the ball might stop, but that's a guy that can get to the free throw line. It's a guy that can score, and like Jarris isn't afraid to let the thing fly from deep. But I think Jarris might be more passive, but I hope he doesn't become that way. Like, I almost want to see him be more aggressive. You know what I mean? Like, in terms of like looking to score, looking to impact the offense more ways than one. Because if I'm looking at somebody that could potentially start, that's not TJ McConnell and be a secondary playmaker, Jarris Walker has some of those chops in his game.
No, I got he's got some careless passing to him, but he's one of the best like pure passers and like the ability to make the spectacular pass like among anybody on the roster is going to be healthy next year. Yeah. Like he might have some of the best passing highlights of the team. I mean, he did the off the backboard to the corner 3 in a game like Ty did. Like, I mean, there's not very many guys that are even going to try that in a game, let alone complete it and do it. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Jarris. I hope he gets the opportunity and I hope he earns it. Like the question with him has always been can he go full speed and show like a full effort 100% of the time and like constantly be running with how the Pacers want to play. Like it's another like both of these lottery picks just have like question marks for can they fit to the Pacer styles just in different ways. Like with Jarris, it's does he have the endurance to play the Pacers pace up and down the floor, always running, all of that. And then with Ben, it's just can you make quick decisions? And then Shep feels like he makes such quick decisions that it's like he's too passive, like you said, and sometimes he won't look at the rim and everything. So big question with those 3.
Yeah, I mean, how much do you think Jarris will benefit or could benefit from playing with the starting 5?
So I think I feel like you brought up that, like, I hope he's not passive. Like, I feel like when he's had opportunities with the main lineup in the past, like, it feels like he's kind of like, okay, I know I'm the 5th option kind of thing. Like, I need to just move it and, like, not be as aggressive. So I think, like, it could be a huge thing for him. He just has to have the confidence and the green light to, like, be himself and not be worried about making mistakes, I think is the biggest thing.
Yeah, and I do think that playing with a better unit could alleviate some of the attention that's on him if he's coming off the bench and it's like, oh, it's TJ.
When he's not the garbage type point guard running the offense, that kind of thing.
Well, that too, but I'm saying like he might even be looked to score. Like if they start Mathan, right, and they bring Jarris off the bench with like TJ and Obi, like there's probably going to be times where he's looked to be more of a scorer, and maybe he can relish in that role against other teams' benches. But you also have to wonder like how much better would he feel if he could play next to Nembhard and Pascal and Aaron and whether it's Ijax or Jay Huff, whoever's starting, like he's probably going to like rely on those guys to kind of carry the offensive load and pick and choose his spots, which could be beneficial for him, I think, and not put so much pressure on him, even though like you don't want him just to necessarily be like, hey, I'm the 5th guy, I don't got to do too much. But I think defensively also, if Ijax starts, that's probably the best defensive lineup the Pacers can put out there on the floor with Nembhard, Nesmith, Jarris, Pascal, and Ijax. I mean, I really like the length there, the defensive versatility of switching and things like that. So I think Jarris's development defensively might be more important than offensively.
Yeah, how consistent can he be on that end, I think is hugely important. But yeah, like you think about like Nembhard's like Caitlin's brought this up multiple times, like he's probably not going to be able to be the same level of defender if you're giving him the ball that much on offense. Like it's just too much to ask of a guy. So like, can you find somebody else in the line to put in the lineup that's going to take some of those possessions away? And I don't know how good Jarris would be like point of attack, but if Neesmith can take more of those like primary ball handler roles and then Jarris takes like the bigger wing kind of thing, like there's some potential there. Like we've seen Jarris make stops against like some major players in the league and like he has elite hands to just tap the ball away from anything. It's just a matter of like, can he be consistently where he needs to be? Can he fight over screens? All of those things.
Yeah, totally agree with that. I want to move on to one of my next questions that I had, and this goes back to the Ben Mathan conversation. I've talked a lot about could they use him as a trade chip at the trade deadline, and knowing that this could cost them a lot. They just lost Miles Turner for nothing in free agency. Do they want to get to the point that we're seeing all these other teams right now with restricted free agencies kind of go into a stalemate? I know there are other teams next year that will actually have cap space that could offer Ben a very nice contract if that's the person they do want to target. So let me ask you this. Instead of do the Pacers want Ben Mathan long term, does Ben Mathan want to be an Indiana Pacer long term?
It's a great question. And yeah, like it depends. How's he taking the two spots open? Like how's he taking that heading into year 4?
Yeah.
It's a great question. Like we don't know how we've seen some things where he's liked some stuff that people have said on Twitter and things like that, but then he like unlikes it. He doesn't ever say anything himself, but he loves to save that kind of stuff. He uses it as a motivation. But yeah, like at what point is he like if him and Kuminga like have reminded me of each other for a couple years now.
Yeah.
Like Kuminga, like constantly Golden State doesn't feel like he fits how they play. And that's exactly the same kind of feeling with the Pacers and with Ben a lot of the time. And then like we saw Kuminga like completely fall out of the playoff rotation for Golden State last year. And like Ben stayed in it. Like he had some amazing games, then he had some games where he felt like he was completely invisible. So it's just like, or he'll get pulled really fast because he'll make some of those defensive mistakes or won't do what he's supposed to do. And just, yeah, it's a fascinating thing. Like how much does Ben feel like he fits here and like feel like this is the best place for him?
Yeah. And this is definitely me reading into things because I love to do that. And I'm just like that. But I don't know if you were at his basketball camp a couple of years ago. I don't think you were. But I believe Scott Agnes was there. Tom Lewis was there. I think that was the 3 of us that showed up for it. We were going to have Mathan on the podcast. And so they invited me out to the camp. And like, we were able to interview Ben and we were able to interview his sister, Jen. And one of the things that she said in that conversation when talking, she was like, yeah, as long as we're here, we want to do this. And I thought, that's a really weird way of saying that. Like, as long as we're here, we want to keep doing these basketball camps. And I'm thinking, okay, what does she mean by that? Like, I just maybe have PTSD from a lot of players like wanting to leave Indiana. And this was his like coming off his rookie year. She said that, I'm pretty sure. So I'm thinking to myself, like, as long as he's here, like, did they not like Indiana, or is there like some question marks about the fit? And so that has always stuck with me in the back of my head. It's never been one thing that anybody else has like said anything about, but you can definitely tell like Ben is almost afraid to talk about anything or say anything because he's very arrogant. We know that. He thinks very highly of himself, and I don't think there's a problem with that. I actually like that about him. But ever since the LeBron comments got way blown out of proportion on draft night, he's been media trained to like be careful with what he says. And so we don't really get the full authentic Ben. I would love to see Ben just kind of turn into like Jimmy Butler and not care what he says. And I think that might happen at some point in his career, depending on which way it goes. But I don't know. I think Ben Mathan's so fascinating as a person and as a player. I wish the fit was better here in Indiana because that's a lottery pick, number 6 overall. Like, that's somebody that they've invested a lot into. But will he actually fit with this team moving forward? It's tough. It's tough to say because depending on how much he wants to be here, does he view himself as a starter? Does he get a starting role here? Or does he continue to be a 6th man here? And how will he respond to that? I think Ben Mathan's probably the most fascinating player to watch this season in terms of just the storylines.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fascinating. Like, it's a lot easier to accept, like, going back to being a sixth man when your team's winning and you end up going to the NBA Finals. Like, who knows what this year is going to look like? Like, when you're not, like, doing as well as that, like, it's a little harder to accept a lesser role than you feel like you deserve.
Did you have any more questions?
I told you, man, they all start there. So we can talk about the center position if you want. I feel like
Let's do it. Let's go to the center position.
All right. So who's your top? Who's starting game one?
Good question. Who's starting game one versus who I think will end the season as a starter might be two different answers.
Very, very much, yes.
I wasn't really thinking about this. I'm like, they paid Ijax the most. He's got to be the starter.
That's what I feel like.
But,
I was going to start.
Casey Johnson, who is a season ticket holder for the Pacers, was just on this podcast last episode, or 2 episodes ago, excuse me. Really brought up a good point on Twitter, and he was like, I kind of wonder if J Huff starts the season out as a starter because they want to ease Ijax and James Wiseman kind of back into things from their Achilles injuries. And I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But what if James Wiseman is just so freaking good after this injury and he just takes over in camp as a starting center? I know Derek is that's a Derek joke if you guys don't have YouTube so you can see Derek laughing at this. But no, I think it's definitely between J Huff and Ijax. And I can see them potentially leaning Huff to start the year for 2 reasons. 1, he's healthy. And number 2, he can spread the floor unlike Isaiah Jackson. And I think that Miles' ability to spread the floor was probably his best asset offensively for this team last year. So that is why I'm kind of changing my opinion from what I had originally said on this podcast about Ijax to J Huff.
Yeah, and like, I saw a thing the other day that was like the most efficient pick and roll partners, and like Ty and Pascal were like 2, and then Ty and Miles were like 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
And that one was like 300 more pick and rolls than Ty and Pascal. So there's another there's 800 possessions.
It's crazy.
Like something like that. Like that's how many possessions are open just in that one play type.
Yeah.
From guys that are missing.
That is so wild.
Yeah, like I'm really excited about J Huff. Like the stuff that he does, I think will help a lot, and I'm excited to see what he does. And like this is a grand opportunity for him. Like he had a brief chance with the Grizzlies last year, but then fell out of the rotation. Really excited to see like what happens with him. Yeah, they must be very confident that like Isaiah Jackson is looking good from the Achilles, like to give him that much money coming off of that. Like, and I was surprised that they would go that high. Yeah. Honestly, like I don't know who else was giving him that deal. But like, yeah, I think I kind of lean towards their, like with their salaries, like it feels like they want Ijax to probably be the starter, but I also think it could just be like Carlisle saying it's by committee. Like it might just be a rotating, like who's the best guy for tonight kind of thing. So it just depends on who they're playing game 1, who they're playing game 82.
Yeah.
Decide who starts. Like I don't feel like James Wiseman is going to be in the mix too much personally, but would love to see him shock me and be a quality NBA player, but I have not seen that in his career to this point.
That is such a backhanded compliment. I would love for him to shock me.
It was not a backhanded compliment. It was just a statement of fact.
I know it is. It is.
I wasn't a compliment at all.
I like most Pacer fans want to believe in the possibility and potential of James Wiseman, because that could be a really fascinating story. Like if he could pan out to be like 75% of what maybe the Warriors thought they were getting when they drafted him, like that would be great. Maybe even 50% of that for the Pacers, right?
This is going to be one of your what if picks. What if James Wiseman pans out?
Well, I mean, maybe it's on my list. You never know. What if James Wiseman becomes the starting center for the Pacers? No.
5 years from now, what if James Wiseman panned out?
Hey, maybe we'll figure that one out a little bit later. But I'm trying to think in terms of the J Huff stuff and then Isaiah Jackson stuff. Like, it's so fascinating because they're so different, and I think they could really play off of each other well. Like in terms of like the stylistics or the style they play. Because I mean, I know a lot of people said, "Hey, Jay Huff reminds him a lot of Miles Turner." It's like, let's pump the brakes a little bit. I've been very like petty towards Miles on social media and on the podcast. It is just fun. I don't really care that much. I hate that Miles left for the Bucks. Yeah, it sucks to see one of your longest tenured guys go to your biggest rival, but it doesn't really matter that much to me. I had some feelings about how the Pacers handled their negotiations, and after hearing everything, maybe I just feel like Miles wanted a lot more than they wanted to give him. So I think that it all worked out the way that it was supposed to. But my other question for you, it goes back to the contract with Isaiah Jackson. Do you think that they gave him around $7 million because it's not a ton, but number one, they lost Miles for nothing already. Did they want to like play this cat and mouse game with any other team that could potentially want him? And number two, that $7 million, it's kind of beneficial in a trade if you do want to include that with other things to get you to a certain threshold. Because I brought this up on our Trade Targets podcast, not saying it would happen, but Bam Adebayo this year is making around $37 million. So if you combined Obi, Mathan, Jarris, and Isaiah Jackson, those four players would get you to that $37 million to get a guy like Bam Adebayo. So I'm just curious, like, how much of that do you think plays a factor in terms of, like, we don't have a lot of big contracts, but this one's a little bit bigger than one of our minimum deals that we kind of have.
I'm going to tell you, I think they were going to give Isaiah Jackson that contract either way.
Okay.
I'll tell you why. So, and the contract's fine. Like I wasn't trying to say it was bad or anything.
Yeah.
Like the descending nature of it, awesome, great. And like, I like his potential. I love Isaiah Jackson. Excited to see what he can do this year. I think the Pacers were planning on giving him this exact deal because if you like take Pritchard's plan, like he talked about, like the Pacers plan, like everything we planned to do if we were able to sign Miles, we were going to go right up to that first luxury tax line. If you take that $7 million that Isaiah Jackson got, like all the reporting besides Greg Doyle, which I mean, it's Greg Doyle, was at about 22, 23 million.
Yeah.
For Miles per year. So if you take that, like that lines up perfectly. Like all of the things that they did, plus the Isaiah Jackson 7 million, like they're right at that first luxury tax line. Pritchard, I think, talked about being in like the third tier of luxury taxes, which is like how much money per dollar that they pay. Like there's something beyond the aprons and beyond the tax lines and all this stuff that's just like, instead of paying $1.5 for every dollar, they'd be paying $2.5 for every dollar or something like that. I don't even know. But it's the third realm of that, but it's like before they hit the first apron. So they wouldn't have passed the apron, but they would have been like right at it. And that makes sense too. If you're thinking about why would Miles just go to the Bucks and not give the Pacers a chance? Well, the Pacers are probably telling him like, there's not much wiggle room here. Like this is what we want to do. There's not much higher we can go because they didn't want to pass that first apron line.
That's a good point. And
so if Miles is like, well, your legs are like $5 million a year short. Like, why would I even? You're already telling me there's not enough room. So why would I come back?
Now, what would you do if you're the front office? Would you say, well, I'd rather give that money I was going to give to Ijax to Miles and then try to find a way to keep Ijax at a cheaper contract?
So that's the thing. I don't know. Like you can make the argument that Miles isn't going to be worth that contract. You can make that argument, but I think you can also, from Miles' point of view, you can see why. Well, Naz Reid just got that much. He's a backup for Minnesota.
That's a good point.
Jakob Poeltl. I feel like I'm better than Jakob Poeltl and Naz Reid. They both just got paid this much. I'm supposed to take less than them and less years. So, like, I can see where, not to just sidetrack on the Miles thing, which has been overhashed and overthing, and I didn't love everything. I didn't love everything he said in the press conference either.
What annoyed you the most
about the press conference?
Yeah, what he said. Young and hungry.
So I tried not to. It's just like, I know he's not speaking to Pacers fans when he's at this Bucks press conference.
Right.
Like I'm sure he would love to say more about the Pacers, but he's also thinking like, well, they don't care. Like I'm trying to sell myself to Milwaukee right now.
Yeah.
So like when I'm thinking of Miles saying goodbye, I'm thinking of his very long, like I've never seen anybody write that long of a goodbye letter on social media. to a franchise. So I'm thinking more of that. Like, I don't know. I can't remember exactly what it was. The one where it felt like he definitely put his foot in his mouth multiple times.
The
But
grass
it was
is,
which one was it? It was the one where he's saying something that just felt like the guys that'll do anything it takes to win.
yeah,
It's like, really, after what
yeah,
the Pacers just went through and you just saw Tyrese do, like, yeah. But it
yeah,
also felt like, I don't know, like it was like, if I'm gonna leave Indiana, like if he would have said that, if you put that in front of everything he said, it doesn't feel as bad because he wanted to stay. I'll say that with confidence. His first choice would have been to stay,
yeah.
but he's not going to say that in an introductory press conference
To
or any
Milwaukee.
time after he signs with the Bucks. Like,
Yeah, I think at the end of his career, when he's on Podcast P, right? Like, I'm sure he'll do a tell all of what really happened. And it'll probably be some version of the truth because that is all I was getting at early on. Like, I was like, I think the front office lowballed. I'm not thinking there was a team out there that had money. I think that's pretty obvious what happened.
yep,
And I don't
they
blame
did
them.
not see the Bucks coming, and yeah, they lost Miles because of it.
Yeah, I mean,
That's simple.
I don't necessarily blame them for playing hardball. They didn't have anybody to compete against at the time.
Yep.
I do think, though, moving forward, they will have to factor this in with any player that they're thinking about playing hardball with, because somebody that could be in that realm of possibilities in the future is an Aaron Nesmith type of player. Because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of teams that would like to get their hands on Aaron Nesmith in free agency. I think he's a game changer. I know he's making dirt cheap money right now, and the Pacers better not screw around with that. You know, and I think when Milwaukee added that trade kicker, like that was like the Pacers would not have matched that no matter what.
Like,
They were
notice when people asked Kevin Pritchard if they would have matched that, he never just flat out said yes.
we would have liked to
If
have
they
the
would have.
opportunity.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just interesting, and I'm not trying, like you said, to rehash everything, but yeah, I mean, when I'm looking at like questions for the season, like how do they replace Miles' production, and we kind of talked about that a little bit with the center rotation. It's just fascinating to me. I think that they can definitely mask what they had last year between both Turner and Thomas Bryant as like their overall center package of guys they have now. But I still think that they're going to be missing just a trustworthy, dynamic veteran that was very reliable for the majority of the season. Yeah, he did not have a good NBA Finals, and he did not have a great Eastern Conference Finals. But the first two rounds, he was pretty darn good and pretty important to why they won those games. So it's not like you're just missing out on this guy and whatever. Like, I think that it would have been a worse year for Miles this season without Halliburton overall. But
It would
I
have been
do,
interesting, but Miles without Halliburton this year would have been very interesting to see.
yeah, I'm that's what I'm kind of curious with him in Milwaukee. I know this isn't like the biggest questions for the Bucks, but like, what does he look like without a real point guard? I mean, we've kind of already seen it. Can Giannis be a real point guard for him? I mean, I know Giannis is Giannis, but like, it's just a different type of player.
Well, that Bucks team is going to be fascinating. I'm very fascinated.
Yeah, fascinating is the right way to put that. I don't really have. I have more questions I could ask, but is there any more that you specifically want to get to on this podcast?
I don't know. Is there any like player we haven't discussed? Just like
Is there anyone you're eager to discuss that we haven't talked about?
I feel like we touched on most of them at least a little bit. Like I'm just thinking about like the last time the Pacers were in this situation or a similar situation. They've been in multiple, but when Paul George broke his leg, and like you think about that season, and like who stepped up, and it was like Rodney Stuckey.
CJ
So
Miles.
like that's like the Pacers are in a lot better position where they have a lot more exciting opportunities for guys to step up. So like you want to see one of these young guys, like when Danny Granger was out and Paul George became an all-star, became the guy. You want to see a situation more like that, where one of your young guys with a lot of potential, you don't know what he is yet, kind of becomes something more than what you had before. So hopefully it's that kind of season. And of course, if it's just kind of a mediocre meh season, the Pacers did get Miles Turner out of that Paul George broken leg year when they did not make the playoffs.
So what you're saying is they could get their Miles Turner replacement in the draft, like they got their Roy Hibbert replacement in the draft in an off year.
Could be.
Could be. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into part 1 of our conversation here with Derek Kramer, talking all things biggest questions coming into the season for the Indiana Pacers. And look, if there's anything that we left out, please let us know in the comment section below, because look, there's a lot of questions out there. Maybe there's things that I'm not thinking about because I've been so focused on the questions that I have been talking about on this podcast. So if there's anything different that we haven't discussed, please let us know. And if you like this show, also leave us a 5-star rating and review, subscribe on YouTube, and let us know what you guys think in the comment section. Hit that like button as well. It just helps us get more notoriety. And we want to build this fan base up. There's a lot of Pacer fans out there, and if they're not listening to Setting the Pace, we want to make sure that they're doing that. So word of mouth is the best way to get this out. So thank you all so much for that. Be back tomorrow with Derek Kramer, and hope you all have a great rest of your Monday. Talk soon.